What's up, everybody? It is your boy Teton West back with another episode of the Cam and T podcast, man. With my guy Cam, brother. How you doing today, man?
Good, bro. Good. You know what I'm saying? Always good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I was just telling you before off camera. I said Cam done got the fresh cut, man. He done got to
Yeah,
Atlanta,
man.
got with some brothers on the barber end.
Yeah, man.
I said my boy Cam done got fresh on us, man. So nah, I was just saying,
Yeah.
man, haircut for real, bro.
Appreciate it. It
Yeah,
was a long time, bro. It's been like I ain't gonna hold you. It's been like 6 months since I had got a cut, man.
really.
It was I think I only got it once this year. Cut once this year.
Wow. Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
was growing it out. So I said, man,
Yeah.
man, done really cut it down, but it looked good on you, brother, for real, man. So all
Appreciate it.
love to
Appreciate
that.
it.
If you haven't already, please go ahead and tune in on YouTube, Spotify. We are on YouTube this week, y'all. We couldn't get on there last week. We got over our 50 subscriber goal. Shout out to y'all. Y'all ran it up the other day ago.
Yes,
And
sir.
now YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. So we on all the platforms of streaming now. So we appreciate y'all, man. We got a lot of people tuning in already from YouTube and Twitch. Shout out to y'all, man. But it's gonna be a fun episode today, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna talk about the NBA, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about summer league standouts. We got a couple of those that we want to talk about as well. We'll talk about Wimby a little bit. You know, he
Yep.
struggled a little bit last night, so we'll talk about him a little bit. Also, as well, we're gonna talk a little college football today. We're getting close, man. I think we're within like 59 days now. So we're getting
Something like
close to
that.
that. Yeah, so we're getting close. We're gonna talk about Matt Rhule in Nebraska. Is Nebraska a what they call blue blood anymore at this point? So we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about who are the true blue bloods in college football. So we're gonna talk about that too. Threads blew up, took over the whole, internet the last
Social
couple
media.
of days. Yeah,
Yeah.
like everybody's been talking about threads. So we'll talk a little bit about threads versus Twitters. And then last thing, we're gonna actually do something different here. We're gonna draft our United States cities. Me and Cam. We have five choices. If we were an athlete or a professional athlete, money wasn't an option, money wasn't a problem. Where will we live? We're gonna have a draft, a professional city draft. So if and that means if you have a professional team in any of the big four, hockey, baseball, basketball, and
Basketball.
football. If
Hmm.
you have a professional team in any of those four, you are up for the ballot. Even if it's like Raleigh and the Hurricanes, they only got the Hurricanes, but they would be on the ballot. So we're gonna do that at
Right.
the end just to have a little fun and do something different because it is the summer. So we do understand that everything is not a heavy sports season at this moment, but it will be in the coming weeks. But that's kind of the rundown of what the show is going to be. Cam, is there anything you want to say before we go ahead and jump into the first topic?
Nah, man, I'm ready to get to it. I'm excited. It's a good episode, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Y'all
man.
stay active in the chat like
Yeah,
y'all did last
definitely.
time.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
y'all was
saying? Y'all
active
was
in the
going
chat
live
last
in the
time.
chat.
Yeah,
So
for
stay
real.
active, you know what I'm saying? Interact. Ask us questions if y'all want some, y'all want to be if y'all want some answers or whatever, we ready, man. We love seeing y'all in the chat. So ask
Definitely.
questions. Let's get to it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about let's go ahead and jump into the NBA standout. So last night, as we all know, Wemby, right? The
Yeah.
whole basketball world ascended on Las Vegas last night to see Wemby. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy's been the most hyped up, prospect really since Bron. I don't think I've seen
Since
anybody
LeBron.
this hyped up since Bron, in my personal opinion. Now, Wemby did struggle last night, and I think he even said like he didn't know what he was doing out there. I
Hmm.
thought he said something on the likes of that in an interview after the game. But he struggled. It was bad. I'll read off his stat line here. He went 2 for 13, one from 6 from the three, and only scored 9 points. He had 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. It was a rough night, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
For Wemby. Like I said, the whole world ascended. I think they were saying tickets for the summer league was like $114 just to get in the building to see him. It,
Yeah.
it was insane.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller on the other end, who is another guy we'll talk about a little bit today too. He did actually pretty all right, and he did okay. He did better in the first two games. I think he had
Right.
16 points, shot 5 from 15. He went 3 from 10 from the field, which is 30%, and he had 11 rebounds, so he did get a double-double. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we seen last night. I want to talk to you about Wemby because me and you have talked about this off air a lot. Do you believe the Wemby hype? Do you think he doing too much? Like, be honest. Do you believe in the Wemby hype? That's the main question right now.
So, do I believe in the hype? No, because I mean, truth be told, before last night, I had never seen him play, just in the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, he was cool. I mean, he got the dribbles, you know what I'm saying? He got the handle. He can shoot a little bit, you know what I'm saying? He tall. But, when they're comparing him to a player like LeBron James and
Right.
saying he might be the greatest basketball prospect of all time, to me, you going a little too far, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, we're talking about LeBron here. You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
hype that LeBron got, he lived up to it and surpassed it. You know what I mean? And so for
Right.
me, I'm looking at a guy like Wemby. We live in a new era, right? LeBron, I feel like when he came into the league, he was already almost, even though he was only 18 years old, he was already a grown man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he had matured to that point. And I feel like in this day and age, in this era of social media, and where you're more than an athlete. Something that LeBron always talks about, where you're more than an athlete. I
Right.
felt like Wemby, even though his prospect might be fantastic, it might be great. Maybe he don't want to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Maybe he just wanted to make the NBA and put his family on or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I feel like there's a lot that goes into his height and a lot that goes into his prospect that almost transcends basketball, and they're trying to put a lot on him, especially
Mhm.
going to an organization like the San Antonio Spurs, where you had elite big men and you know what I'm saying, and in the past, and they're elite foreign players. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
everybody, all the pressure. It's almost like the pressure of the world is on his shoulders, and he's only 18, 19 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, as far as believing in the hype as a player, yeah, I mean he got the skill, he got the game. But in terms of will he ever live up to it? I don't know because they put too much on him.
Right.
And then as far as what I seen last night, really one of the main things was that I noticed was he kind of he needs to put on muscle. I think it was a
Mhm.
couple of times where he was driving to the hoop and he kind of got almost stalled. You know what I'm saying? He kind of got locked up
Yeah.
because he wasn't strong enough to kind of bully through some of the guys who had been playing, at least who had at least been training in the NBA regimen for over a year now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So one of the things he needs to do is put on some muscle. I think when you look at Giannis when he came into the league, he was very slim. He reminded me very much of Wemby. Really thin arms, just long as I don't know what, but had the skill, had the skill out off the skill was off the charts. You know what I'm saying? They just needed to add that muscle. So when
Right.
Wemby adds muscle, I think he'll be better. I think his next summer league game he'll be better because I think he's gonna. I think it was a lot in his mind. You could kind of see like when he was driving, and really when he was trying to make some plays, it wasn't really going his way because he's not used to this type of, you know, basketball. You know what I'm saying? Coming from
Right.
overseas, coming
Mhm.
from not really playing against other NBA players. He's not used to this level of competition just yet.
Right.
But I think it'll come to him. I think he's gonna have a good year. I think it's gonna be a lot of growth. Um, and I'm excited to see more from him. I did think, like you said, with the stat line, 5 blocks, that's going to translate very well to the next level.
Right.
He has a really good chance. If he plays a lot of minutes this year, he has a really good chance of finishing top 10 in blocks in
Right.
the NBA. And so I think he's gonna have a good rookie year. But like you said, the height, I don't know if he can live up to it.
Yeah, the hype is crazy right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
and I told you this. We talked about this a little bit last night. I think because LeBron's on his way out and stuff like that, he probably has a year or two left in the league. You would think. I think
Hmm.
that I don't think there's no way that Wemby is not at least good because the NBA has hyped him up so much. He at least has to be like a LaMarcus Aldridge. Like his career at least has to be something like that.
Right.
Good player, Hall of Fame player, not like, the greatest player of all time, but
Right.
LaMarcus Aldridge had a pretty good career. I think that's the
Hmm.
the, the floor for
Hmm.
Wemby. You know what I'm saying? Is LaMarcus Aldridge. And if he can have a career like that, I think there's no shot he's a bust. He's not going to be a bust because he's just too tall. He's too talented with the ball handling. I don't think there's going to be a way that he can be bust. I just don't see it personally. For me. So I do believe in the hype because I've seen the way him being 7'4" and able to handle the ball like a point guard is insane. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about a guy that has handles like a point guard, and he's 7'4". So it's hard for me to not think that he's not going to be at least somewhat elite at some point in his, career. I just don't know if, and that's another thing. This guy just brings it up right here. He's so small. Like, injuries is a thing I'm also concerned about with Wemby. Because, and obviously, he can go down the Greek Freak route where Greek Freak was extremely small when he got in the league, and he bulked up and everything worked out great. But Wemby is just an extremely small guy as far as like weight wise. So I would like for him to put on some more, but I think the sky's the limit for Wemby, bro. Like, I really do believe the hype. So me and you kind of disagree on that one, but I do understand why you're saying I don't really see nothing that's really special, because for one, he was overseas, so a lot of people didn't watch him a lot anyway. And I watched the game last year. We're gonna jump into this next guy next. Scoot Henderson was kind of giving him the business last year when they played that game against each other. I seen Scoot do a drop back, hit it in the face, in his face, boom, hand in the face, he knocked it down. So yeah, I definitely understand where you come from, but I believe if he went to the perfect situation, let's get that out the way. We know the Spurs can develop big man. We know Pop can develop big man. That's not even a question. So I'm not even worried about where he went. Like, if he went to the Wizards, or, like, no offense, Hornets fans, like the Hornets, I would have been a little concerned about his development. But you know what I'm saying? Him going to the Spurs, that's literally probably the best place to go to be developed as a big man. So I'm not really concerned about that. So like I said, I think the least he'll be is LaMarcus Aldridge. I think that's the lowest he'll be. But I am concerned about the injuries. I am concerned about the size. I would really like for him to gain some weight. And, that takes time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not expecting it overnight. That takes time. And, that's pretty much how I feel about that. I think Wemby is going to be the real deal, though. I definitely could see him being a top 5 player in this league within the next 5 years for sure.
Woo!
Yeah, I could.
Bold.
Yeah, I could, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. I can see it. I can see it because when you think about it, in the next 5 years, right, who's all going to be heading out the door? LeBron's going to be gone by then, right? I'm thinking AD, guys like him, they're going to be washed up by that time. They're going to be kind of heading out the door in the next 5 years. All right, let me think of some of the top players. Steph,
KD gone.
another one. Steph, KD
gone.
gone. I mean, at that point, you're going to be looking at a league that's probably going to be ran by your boy, Jokic. I don't even know if Embiid. I'm a little concerned about Embiid because of his health. Like, he's always hurt. So in 5 years, he might be like on the downcline by then.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant alone.
Yeah.
So
Giannis will be there.
Giannis will be there. Your boy will be there. Luka will be there.
Yeah.
Tatum will be there. But I think Wemby can be right up in that ballpark with them. Like, I don't think that's really crazy to say. To be honest, if he puts it all together, let me say that. If he puts it all together, I think he'll be a top 5 player by the time we get to 2028. He'll be a top 5 player, in my opinion. And I think that's the way the scouts in the league sees it, that in the next 5 years, he should be up there with the Lukas, the Tatums, all those guys. He should be up there with them. Yeah. In my opinion.
I mean, listen, if the hype is real, like you say, he will be, because LeBron was already a top 5 player by year 5. Right. You know what I mean? Exactly. So if they say he's as great as he is, then he absolutely should be there. You know what I mean? Right. And this year I think I think he came into a really good class. He's really, I want to say, the only big that kind of came in. Like everybody else after him, like the next 5 or 6 picks were all guards. So, and speaking of guards, Scoot Henderson, we got to talk about Scoot and Amen Thompson. They kind of faced off with each other last night. I know he went down with an ankle injury, but Both of those
And
guys in the first half,
Scoot
at
got
least.
hurt, didn't he? I
I
think
mean,
Scoot. I think
Scoot
Scoot
got
has
hurt.
some type of shoulder injury. Excuse me, I can't get my words out. Injury. I think Scoot
Yeah.
has some type of injury as well. I
Mm,
could be wrong, but I think they said something about he got hurt. I don't think it was nothing major. I think it was like a
yeah.
minor situation, but it was
Just a
something with
bang
his
up or something.
shoulder. Yeah.
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 Well, both of those guys, they lit it up last night. I'll read off their stat line. So Scoot, he had 15, 5, and 6. And he was 5 for 13 shooting, and he was 1 for 3 on threes. And he had a really good first half. And then my man Thompson, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, on 6 of 13 for shooting. And he was 1 for 1 on threes. So had a really efficient night before he
Right.
had went down with that injury.
Mhm.
But I think one of the things that people was talking about, during the game was, our man Thompson looks like he's ready to go right now. He's ready
Yeah.
to play,
Yeah.
and
I
a
was
lot
a
of
little
people were
worried,
asking,
but he looked ready to go. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, a lot of people were asking, what at this point, drafting him, what's the point of paying Fred Van Vliet all that money when you got somebody who's taller and who looks like he's a better defender already. You know what I mean? Somebody who can really be, somebody who can really be, a future star in this league. Like, what's the point of paying, Fred Van Vliet all that money that you did? And you got, you drafted somebody like Amen Thompson, and really it's only going to hurt his development as a guard. So I don't know. Um, I think both those guys played really well last night. I
Mhm.
think a lot of Hornets fans, we saw them on the timeline. I think with Scoot, in particular, they were like, man, I don't know, Scoot looking like the
Yeah.
real deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he does. I mean, he had a really good night. It's just he looked like he's NBA ready. I said this a couple of weeks ago. He looked like he was ready to go. He just need to put on a little bit more muscle himself. But
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, the league is really getting smaller and smaller. A lot of guys are coming in thinner. And that's kind of how the game is being played now anyway. So
Yeah.
I think both of those guys just had a really good night. It was a really good game. Um, and then last person from that game I really want to talk about for a second is Jabari Smith.
Yeah.
Last year, I think he was what, the number 3 overall pick
That
last
is
year or
correct.
something.
Yeah, I believe so.
Jabari Smith, he had a really quiet first half, but the second half he exploded. He had 33 points,
Yeah.
7 rebounds, 2 assists, and he was 8 for 18 shooting, 3 for 8 on threes. And so Jabari Smith is looking like the real deal. And Houston, man, they got a nice little team that they trying to build
I
there, man.
was, you know what, Karen? When you was reading that, I was literally just thinking, Houston, if they
Yeah,
can put all this together, they might have something, bro. I'm not gonna
yeah,
hold you. Now, I still don't know why they paid Fred all that money. I'm gonna be honest with you. But I'm not gonna lie, man. They Houston Rockets could be a team in the next 5 years if everything
hmm
pans out. That could be making some noise. I'm not saying that they're going to
hmm
be like the best team in the West and nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying.
right,
But I do think they can be like a top 5 team in the West if they put it
right,
all together. I think they can be, because when you think about it, they just got Dylan Brooks. Y'all know how I feel about Dylan Brooks, defensive stalwart, right? So he's going to take care of
hmm
that wing position. They got Jabari Smith, as you said, he just scored 33 points. So it seems like he might be ready to take that next step in his development. Jalen
hmm
Green, I would like to see him take that next step in his development and maybe see if he can process on to be the next guy, maybe the next James Harden in that city. Um,
right,
and then Fred VanVleet, even though I don't like the signing, he is going to give them some type of veteran presence that they
yeah,
need, because that team is extremely young. And then the Thompson twin, if he
hmm
pans out, you're looking at a starting 5. And then
yeah,
they already got Seagun. Seagun's a really good player as well. They already got a
yeah.
starting 5 that can really, you know what I'm saying, be something
They can
for
make some
real.
noise. Yeah,
Yeah.
hmm
So for me, I think I would be a little more optimistic about them and their future in the direction they're leading. I know last week we talked about how some of the moves they made, basically the Fred VanVleet move didn't really make sense. But if they can get this Amen Thompson kid, the Dwayne Thompson twins to work out, I think it's going to go really well for them. So Houston definitely could be, a team that could be reckoned with. I want to talk about another standout that I seen that I liked. our guy from Clemson, Hunter Tyson.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, he looked really good, man. I was really surprised. He had 21 points on 27 minutes. I think he went 7 for 13 on the field, 3 from 7 from 3. I mean, did Denver do it again? Like, did they go in and get another decent player in the second round? I don't know, but I was impressed with what I seen yesterday with him. He looked really good.
Yeah. I mean, all these guys that because I had the game on. Because I knew I was like, man, I gotta see what my boy talking about. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
gotta see
Mhm.
what he gonna do. He came off the bench and he really immediately gave the team a spark, which is kind
Yeah.
of what I was expecting him to do, like in the NBA anyway. Like I'm not expecting him to be, a starting four or really, much more than a role player. But as long as he comes in off the bench and gives the team good minutes, plays good defense, runs the floor well, and hit a couple of shots, that's all we need
Right.
in terms of the Nuggets and in terms of Hunter Tyson's career. If he can just do that consistently, he'll have a long NBA career because that's always going to be needed. You're always going to
Yeah.
need somebody who can shoot. You're always going to need somebody, kind of at that wing hybrid 3-4 position, and you also need somebody who's going to be able to defend. And he does all of that very well. And he's a good rebounder as well. Had 5 rebounds last night off the bench.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think, I felt like, the Nuggets, I think we got a really good steal in Tyson. Um, a couple other players that looked good. I thought Strother looked good
Yeah.
for the
Started to be
Nuggets,
able
man.
to, yeah.
He's a nice guard. I think he's gonna come in, him and Pickett. I think both of those guys are gonna come in and kind of take that Bruce Brown type role on
Roll.
the team. Um, I think Christian Brown, he didn't play but in the summer league, but our rookie from last year, I think he's gonna kind of take that next step and become that six man, honestly,
Mhm.
for us. And then Peyton Watson, he's kind of a fan favorite in Denver. He led the team in points with 23 last night. And he looked like he looked like he's going to be ready for the NBA next year. Like I think he's going to actually get some really good minutes for the Nuggets. So I'm excited. I thought we ended up losing the game to the Bucks, but I mean it's just, it's summer league,
It's
it's
summer league,
whatever. But
right? Yeah.
like I mean I like the guys, man. Look, like I said, those 4 guys that I named, I think they're going to be really good contributors. I think a couple of them are probably going to be two-way players, or excuse me, two-way contract players.
Right.
But ultimately, man, I think I like what we're building, and like you said, man, Tyson, I mean, he's looking good out of Clemson, man.
Yeah, yeah, I was impressed to see. I mean, he was a decent player at Clemson this past year. I watched him a
Absolutely,
little bit. He was a really good player. But
yeah,
to get him in the second round and he seems to be already a little bit ahead of the curve, that's huge
yeah,
for y'all. I mean, it's not like
yeah,
y'all really needed much to be better
right,
than what y'all were, but this definitely puts y'all in a different atmosphere to where now, if your role players can step up, like you said, just give you something off the
yeah,
bench, that 8th or 9th man role, something like
hmm,
that. If he can just come in and give you 7 points a game, even 8
yeah,
points a game, that would be something that y'all would need because y'all are pretty much set on y'all starting 5. I know y'all lost Bruce Brown, but I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna step up and fill that role as well as one of those
yeah,
bench guys. So that's kind of what I would see as well. I did want to bring up one more thing about the summer league because I know we kind of skipped over him a little bit, but Brandon Miller, I do want to talk about him a little bit.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Brandon Miller, he looked better last night. He did. Probably the best he's looked. And I said that yesterday. I said it's going to be important for him to at least look decent
yeah,
to last night because if he didn't, it was the Hornets fans have been extremely hard on this kid. Like they have been
hmm,
extremely tough on this kid. And I honestly kind of feel bad for him, honestly. Now, the first game, I ain't gonna like, I guess it was the California Classic or something like that. He looked like crap. I'm just gonna be, and that's okay. It's summer league. You rather look like crap now than when the season gets started. But in that first game, he looked like crap. The second game, he didn't look much better. I think he had like 8 fouls, something crazy like that. And it
yeah. I
was
seen
pretty
that.
bad.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
bad, you know what I'm saying? But last night, I do feel like Brandon Miller did a little better. He had 16 points, like I said earlier, 11 rebounds, so he did get a double-double. He
yeah.
outplayed Wemby. I mean, he played better than Wemby did last night. But I just kind of wanted to bring him up because I feel like Hornets fans, I kind of feel bad for him because I feel like he's not going to really get the benefit of a doubt because they
No,
won't Scoot so bad. And especially Scoot performed kind of like well yesterday. So like, for me personally, it's just like, in my personal opinion, I feel like he's not gonna get the benefit of the doubt. But I think as somebody that watches the Hornets and stuff like that, I feel like if he comes out and gives 15 and 7 in his first year, that should be decent. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
for him, you know, he's still a rookie, but I feel like with the Hornets, I feel like they're not gonna give Brandon Miller a pass because they still upset about Scoot. And don't let Scoot become like elite quick in Portland. It's really gonna be bad. And if Brandon Miller like struggling, it's gonna be nasty work. But I did want to bring that up though. I did want to, what I'm saying, bring that up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like you said, I mean, like you said, Hornets fans aren't really being a whole fair to him.
No,
They're
they're
not
not.
really being fair to that draft pick. And again, we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but you know, in any other draft where let's say Wemby just didn't exist, any
Right.
other draft, Brandon Miller would have went number
Went
two
number two.
anyway.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I think the Hornets, like I said, a lot of people are hard on him. I get it, wanting Scoot. Scoot seemed like he's a better player.
Right.
But at the same time, Brandon Miller can be good, and I think they should just give him a chance. Just let it play out and see what happens. Um, he wasn't the most efficient last night. He struggled in the first half. I think he got better in the second half. Um, and so, but I think, like you said, it's going to be a process. People got to understand these guys are rookies. Um, Specifically with Brandon Miller, he's never played professional basketball before, so Scoot
Right.
should look better anyway.
Right.
Um, Coming out the G League, so Scoot should look better as well as Wimby should look better because he played professionally overseas. So, just give Brandon Miller a chance. 16 points in the summer league game is nothing to scoff at, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. He
I
played
mean,
31 minutes, which led the
Bron
team.
had 14. Bron had
Yeah,
14 in his first one. So
yeah. So I mean, it's a learning curve, man. It's a process. Like I said, 31 minutes led the team. They're trying. You know what I'm saying? They're putting him out there and basically throwing him to the wolves so that way he'll be ready when the season comes, and he's going to be. I think he's going to be playing a lot of minutes for the Hornets this season. So yeah, absolutely.
yeah, man. No, I agree 100%. Now, I do want to go ahead and shift the conversation to our next subject. Guess what, Cam? We're going back to our old friend, Mr. Matthew Rhule. Yes, we
Matt
are back
Rhule.
talking about Matt Rhule again. Let's talk about it. So Matt Rhule went on Pete Thamel's podcast the other day going, this is going to lead into our next discussion. And Matt Rhule went on, and I guess Pete Thamel asked him about like what happened in Carolina. Like, how do you feel? How did the whole Carolina experience change you? And Matt Rhule went on to say, going through the fire in Carolina was bad. It melted away my impurities and worrying about all of the stuff that doesn't really matter. Rhule said, I learned very much to worry about what matters. I have to focus on the desires that are inside of me. I watched what my kids went through in Carolina, and we're not gonna let that happen to them again. So let's talk about that a little bit. So, long story short, man, Matt Rhule pretty much said that, hey, just no accountability. What we've already
Yeah,
seen from him his whole entire time as a coach in Carolina, there was no accountability the whole entire time he was there. None. It was none. If something went wrong, he was blaming Teddy. If something went wrong, he was blaming Cam. If something went wrong, he was placing blame everywhere. So
yeah,
he goes on to say, "Oh, well, my kids went through all this, and I don't want to allow that to happen to them again, brother." And I'm not trying to be rude. I don't think people should be chastising people's kids. So I don't want to make that like it's okay to be bullying. But dude, you sucked at coaching football in the NFL league. Let me say that you sucked at coaching football because I actually think he's a decent college coach. I'll admit, I think he's a decent college coach, but you sucked at the NFL. That's why people were chastising you. That's why
yeah,
people wanted you out. Matt Rhule, take accountability, dog. You
yeah,
stunk. You stunk. Bro, you went almost a whole entire calendar year without winning a game at home. That's why your kids are getting joned at school. You suck. You were trash. Like, bro, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to bully Matt Rhule. You sucked, bro, at your job, bro. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When you're a public figure and you're put in that mindset and you're in that sphere, bro, anything that comes to you is gonna come to you, whether you like it or not. For example, if I go sign up to be the head coach of the Carolina Panthers and I stink for the next 2 years, y'all gonna be on the town hall roasting me, and y'all know me. Just come on back on here with us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Matt Rhule, you sucked at your job, bro. Like, I'm sorry to go on this tangent, but this dude, it pisses me off that he didn't say, hey, man, I should have did things better in Carolina. I made a lot of choices that I should not have made, and we're going to learn from that here in Nebraska and change the culture here in Nebraska. Like, I don't understand. That would have been, if he would have said that, perfect. But my thing is, why does Carolina keep coming up every single time you open your mouth? It's Carolina, Carolina, like unevoked sometimes. Like, it's like, well, in Carolina, like, bro, because you sucked at your job, don't make it seem like it's the fans and David Tepper's them problem. No, dude, you sucked at your job, bro. Like, let's be real here.
Right. It's all his fault, man. That's the thing. He don't take accountability for that, because even Scott Fitterer, David Tepper, they both said basically that when Matt Rhule came into the building, they handed him the keys. You know what I'm saying? He was the one making the decisions. You know what I mean? He had basically kind of the final say.
Right.
And Matt Rhule swears that it's not him. When he left, he was like, "Oh well, we had a GM." You know what I mean? The owner was really the one paying the check, so it's all like, no, buddy, it's your fault. You know what I'm saying? And really to talk about his comments, the one moment that I can think of where his children were kind of in the mix was when he was at a Hornets game, and basically there was a chant that said, "Fire Matt Rhule" or something like that. And he was at the game, and his children were there. And don't get me wrong, like what you said too, his kids don't deserve none of that, right?
No,
I mean, they're not the ones,
Right.
they're not the ones, being the head coach of the Carolina Panthers or whatever. But at the same time, Matt Rhule, you got to understand, it does come with the territory. And if you're not good at your job, you making public appearances like that isn't going to bode well. Now, again, I'm not saying that the fans should have been mean to his kids or anything like that, but you also got to be smarter and understand that, well, the fans don't like me very much right now, so I better not bring my kids out in public with around all these people. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, you have the right to go wherever you want to, and he should have been able to go wherever he wanted to without being chastised. But at the same time, like you said, this is football. We're talking about, this is sports. This is how people act, and there's nothing that he can do about it other than to keep his mouth shut and to stay indoors. You know what I mean? One of the things that me and you, we talked about in our town halls all the time about Matt Rhule is like you said, no accountability. Matt Rhule always seems to have comments, his press conferences, every time somebody asks him, "Hey, what was going on in your mind when you called this play up? What were what happened? What was the communication like between you and the quarterback during this play?" "Oh, I got to go back and watch the tape." Never went back and watched the tape, never gave an answer. You know what I mean? That was his easy way out of saying everything. Matt Rhule always has been, a lot of people shout out to Bradley. I'm going to give him a shout out. He calls him a snake oil salesman. You know what I mean? Some people call him a youth pastor. You know what I mean? He's everything that you don't want. He's almost like you can't trust him. You know what I mean?
No.
And for the Nebraska faithful that's hearing this, y'all always go back and forth with Panthers fans on Twitter. And y'all are honestly annoying, because this will probably segue into the next topic. But y'all ain't been relevant in years.
Let's get into it.
Y'all ain't. We might as well talk about it now. Y'all ain't been relevant in years. Okay, I'm 25 years old. It wasn't until 2021 when I found out that Nebraska actually used to have a good football team. I did not know it. I seen it on the timeline one day. People were saying, shoot, it might not even been 2021. It might have been when Rhule got hired by them.
Right.
they were saying, "Oh, Nebraska's gonna be back, this, that, and the third." I was like, "Back from what? When they had Taylor Martinez running quarterback?" Because that's all I remember. You know
Right,
what I'm
right,
saying? That's
right.
all I remember about them. And people was like, "Nah, Nebraska used to be real good at football, this, that, and the third." I'm like, "What?" So Nebraska fans, take it from Carolina Panthers fans. We ain't won much neither. But when I tell you that we that we were so happy to get rid of that fool, and that he's out the door, and that y'all are walking into, almost a trap. Good luck, because we can pull up Matt Rhule's college career, and we can see what he did in college. You know what I'm saying? Sure, he turned around the Temple team. Sure, he turned around the Baylor team. But what did they really do other than win a couple of games? Did they beat ranked teams? I do not think so. Did they win national championships? No. Did they win conference championships? Not that I know of. So
No,
that's why I'm saying
they
you're
didn't.
getting. I mean, shoot, Nebraska might go from what? How many wins games they won last year? T.
Last year they
The
had 4
four.
wins.
They
They
had
had
4 wins
4
last year. Congrats on going from 4 wins to 7. This is what
Right.
you're getting with Matt Rhule. Congrats. You're going to compete for a Big Ten. Are they Big Ten, right? Big what are they?
Yeah, they
They
Big
Big
Ten.
Ten.
They in the
You're
West.
gonna
Mhm.
compete. You're gonna compete for 5th place in the Big Ten West. Congratulations. I mean, like, congrats. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah,
you're getting in Matt Rhule.
let me jump in here because you're right, and this leads into our next point. Is Nebraska even considered a blue blood anymore? Like at this point, Nebraska. The last time I'm laughing reading this because you would think the way Nebraska fans talk, you would think they have won 10 games, like at least 10 games every single year for the last 30 years. You want to know the last time they won double-digit wins? You want to know the last time they've had a double-digit win season? Bro, the last time they had a double-digit win season was daggone 2012. We're talking over a decade ago. And that's just to get into 10 wins.
Just
The
10
last
wins.
time they had 10 wins was 2012. The last time they won a national title was not even 2000, excuse me. It was 1997.
So before I
We're
was born.
talking 20 plus years of pretty much them being irrelevant in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. Nebraska, for one, has not been relevant, like I said, in the last pretty much, as you just read, 20 years. They haven't did anything that's anything of great. They had a couple 10-win seasons, but when it comes to the grand scheme of things, I think they're cooked as far as getting back to where they were. That's over. That's not happening. And I'm gonna tell you why that's not happening. For one, NIL. NIL. That's all I really gotta say. NIL, Nebraska is not gonna be able to muster up the money to compete with the Alabamas, Georgia, Floridas, those type of teams, and get those players out of the Southeast, which is my next point. Nebraska is not going to be able to go to the Southeast and get players like that. Elite players, not little 3 stars and 2 stars. They're not going to be able to go to the Southeast and get 5 stars and 4 stars all the time. They might get 1 or 2, but they're not going to be able to get like 4, like from down south, because Georgia, Clemson, who else dominates down this way? Florida State, Florida, Auburn, so on and so forth. Ohio State even comes down here and get players sometime. USC all of a sudden is becoming a threat. But every team I'm naming right now, guess what they got, Cam?
Money.
Bread. They got bread. And in Nebraska, I don't think has I'm just going to say it. They don't have the alumni base that's going to be able to put up that bread like that. Their biggest probably fan that could probably donate the most would probably be Gabriella Union. Straight up. She's a big Nebraska fan. She probably would be the only one that would be able to put up some real money to get them in the building. So that's one reason why I don't think Nebraska's going to come back. Secondly, geographically, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
You're in the middle of you're not near nothing. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're not, at least like with most of the teams in the Southeast, you got Atlanta, super big college football hub and a football city. When you look at Texas, you got Houston, you got Dallas.
Dallas,
You look
Austin.
at the USC schools, you got LA. You got Vegas not too far. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of players. You even go up to Ohio State. You have Pennsylvania. They're a big football hub. Ohio itself is a football hub. Nebraska is literally in the middle of nowhere. And kids are not going to want to play for some guy that gets up there and rambles on and says, and doesn't know what he's talking about to go 7-5 every year. Like, nobody's signing up to that. So for me, Nebraska will never be relevant as far as national title relevant. That ain't happening for them, in my opinion.
No, absolutely not. They got, I mean, like you said, they in the middle of nowhere. They in the cornfields.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't have the alumni base. And another thing, really a point that I want to make is a lot of people, what a lot of people fail to realize is, like you said, Nebraska's last national championship was 1997. Okay. Last time they were good was 2012. Last time they had double-digit wins.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give you the ages of the new recruits that's coming in right now. So in 1997, nobody was born. I wasn't born.
Yeah.
And I'm 25 years old. None of the recruits, all the recruits that's coming in right now was born in either 2004, 2005, or after. Okay.
Yeah.
So they ain't been good since. And last time Nebraska had a double-digit win was 2012. So these kids that are coming in right now would have been about 6 or 7.
Right.
Exactly. Nobody knows this. Like I said, for me, Nebraska, the only player I ever knew was Taylor Martinez. That was it. You know what I'm saying? So no, they can't. They don't have a shot. They don't have a chance. I don't believe in Matt Rhule. Okay, and I'm gonna stand on that. I don't believe in Matt Rhule because not to mention you talking about recruiting and all this other stuff. Let's talk about their own conference. First and foremost, what are you doing? What are they doing with Ohio State and Michigan?
Nothing.
Okay.
Penn State too.
Penn State, Wisconsin. You know what I'm saying? You got those 4 teams that
UCLA on the way
coming. They coming. Like, no, you're not. No, Nebraska. Their best chance is they go to a smaller conference and try to get into the new college football playoff as one of them wild card group of 5 berths or whatever. That's their best shot. But in the Big Ten, you just in your conference alone, you can't compete. You got 6 teams better than you in that conference that are going to be better than you for the long run. Every year.
I mean, because there's no way you can pretty much confirm Ohio State's going to be better than them every single year.
For sure.
Michigan is going to be better than them every single year.
For
Penn
sure.
State's going to be better than them every single year. And the 2 LA schools are probably for sure going to be better than them every single year. I would probably even say Iowa is going to be better than them every single year. And probably Wisconsin as well.
And Wisconsin.
So we just named off 7 or 8 schools that we know for a fact year in and year out are probably going to be better than Nebraska.
Right. I mean, in terms of, Matt Rhule as a college coach, he has some kind of he has a resume there. I mean, it's not a very good one, but it is a resume. Right. You know what I mean? Like I understand there should be some hope to be better than what Nebraska was in the past. But, they talking this big game and all this tough talk like they're gonna be competing for a national championship. I'm sorry, y'all, but it's just not gonna happen.
It's not.
Matt Rhule might get you. His best season, he might get you back to 10 wins.
Yeah.
You might get a bowl berth.
Right.
You know what I mean? You might get into a bowl game with Matt Rhule, sure.
But and that's the thing too, not to even cut you off. That's another thing too that people got to realize. These recruits, they like teams that win. Like, let's be real. Like you just said, none of these guys that have grew up like that's recruits now. Teams they've seen win: Clemson, Bama, Georgia, LSU. Right. They ain't seen Nebraska. Like you said, you're 25 and you don't even remember them really being relevant. So
exactly.
That's a whole nother thing when we're talking about recruiting and getting the talent. None of these kids that have came up have ever seen Nebraska be really worth anything, honestly.
Nope.
Like personally. So this jumps into my next point. Let's get into the next point here. Who do you believe are the blue bloods of college football? I'll name mine off first. Now, these are who I believe are the blue bloods in college football. The USC Trojans, they're blue blood, whether you like them or not. Oklahoma, they're a blue blood, whether you like them or not. Bama and Ohio State, both are blue blood programs. Without a doubt, I don't even question it. I'm trying to think of who else I would consider a blue blood. Texas, definitely blue blood. Because this is really based off just who has been the most important franchises in college football. I guess I would sneak Nebraska in there because they run in the 80s and 90s was crazy, but now they're not really a factor. But I'll put them in there because what they did in the 80s and the 90s. But like I said, I also think blue bloods can die off. Like I think Nebraska is one of these blue bloods that are dying off, just to be honest with you. And then I would probably say another blue blood for me. I want to say probably Florida State or Miami because of their fan bases. But those are kind of the ones that I would consider definitely blue blood, you know what I'm saying? You know, college football fan bases, in my opinion. Oh, and Notre Dame for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so for me, I ain't gonna lie, my list is totally different.
Okay, go ahead. Go for it.
Because like you said, for me, blue bloods die off. And I
Yeah.
think once you aren't a blue blood, for me personally, like I wouldn't consider Nebraska a blue blood, just because just like what we said, like what you did in the 80s and 90s ain't got nothing to do with
Ain't got nothing to
how I
do
view
with
college
yeah.
football today.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when I think of blue bloods, I think about these are the teams that everybody else is trying to be like.
Right.
Right? These are the teams that the gold standards of college football, and I think the gold standards kind of change. Especially specifically in college football, I think they change more often than a lot of other
Yeah,
sports.
they do.
Because I think
Look at
not
Georgia.
to yeah, I was about to say not to change the subject real quick, but like when I think about like college basketball, the blue bloods are all kind of stayed the same over the
Yeah.
last 20 years. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's Kansas, Duke, Kentucky,
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina. I like
Mm-hmm.
UConn. I think UConn's a blue blood.
Gonzaga is starting
So
to work their way in, but yeah.
right. I mean, Villanova, you can make the argument. Like all those teams have been good for a very long time. But
Mm-hmm.
in college football, teams kind of go through this cycle where they're good for 10 years and then they kind of fall off, or they're good for a decade, a specific decade in time, and they fall off, or they're good for 1 or 2 years and they fall off. But then you have sustained success, and then you got new blue bloods that I think are forming. So my blue bloods, so obviously Alabama, I think, is the biggest one. I think
Yeah.
Alabama's the greatest college football team of all time, program of
Yeah.
all time.
Yeah, I agree.
Alabama got to be blue blood. They will be now and probably forevermore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me personally, I think Georgia is a blue blood now
Mm-hmm.
because of like what they did in the past. They're back now. I mean, they're
Yeah.
two time national champions, back to back. I mean, everybody's trying to be like them. Like right at this moment, everybody's trying to be like Georgia.
Right.
So
Right.
I think Georgia is right now a blue blood. Now, if they fall off in the next couple of years, maybe they won't be anymore. But I think right now I have to put them there. Me personally, what I'm saying, I gotta have Clemson in there
Yeah,
because
for
of what
sure.
we've done. Really, just since the year 2010, really, I would
Yeah.
say we've been one of
I
the
mean,
better college
Clemson's been the
football
standard.
programs.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah, I
one of the
mean
standards for
we're one
some
of the
years.
best teams. Really in the college football era, we're 100% of blue blood. There's no
Oh yeah,
argument
yeah, yeah, for
on that.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
100% of blue blood.
yeah,
And that's really what I was looking at when I was thinking of this list. Ohio State is also there, because they won the first ever college football playoff championship, and they're kind of in the mix every year. So I'll put them
yeah.
there. Um, Me personally, I think Michigan kind of is in the realm of that.
They're working.
You
They're
know,
working towards it for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, they are.
I think Michigan deserves a nod simply because their stadium holds the most, I believe, in all of
Yeah,
college football. And so and they're packed out every weekend.
every game,
And so
100,000 plus. Yeah,
I think Michigan is in that mix. Um, for me, again, you said Texas. Texas is great. I mean, they're always we're back, but they're never back, right? So I don't know. I mean, maybe I think they're in terms of college football fan bases and in terms of what they mean to college football as a whole, absolutely. How much money they bring in, absolutely. But in terms of is everybody trying to be like Texas right now? No.
no,
Um, but I do think USC Trojans. I think they're in terms of at least. I know Ruth is in the chat right now. He says blue bloods by region or nationwide. I think when you look at the West, I think it's basically USC in the field. So I would
yeah,
say they're
yeah,
the
for
blue blood.
sure,
Yeah, I would say they're the
for
blue
sure.
bloods, like
Yeah.
on that
Mhm.
side of the world or on that side of the country. Um, but yeah, absolutely, man. that's really my group. Florida State, I kind of toyed with. I didn't know if I would put Florida State in
Yeah,
there. I kind of want to put them in there because I've seen them compete in the past, but they just haven't been very good lately. It's really
yeah,
been over 10
right.
years now.
Yeah, it's been like a
Um,
decade. Yeah,
Oakland, yeah. Miami's not in mine because I've never seen Miami be good.
right,
Oklahoma is kind of in mine, but since they lost Lincoln Riley, I'm not really impressed. So I
right,
think maybe
right.
that's more just I don't know. Um, I think there's levels to it. You know what I mean? I think sustained success has to come into play. But like
Yeah.
you said, I also think you can fall off. So my list looks a lot different.
Yeah, no, I definitely I don't disagree. I think another team that might need to get a mention is LSU. LSU has did some good
Hmm.
things too. Going off your list, like if we're
Yeah,
talking, because
yeah,
every coach that has went to LSU in the last 20 years has at least one ring. That's impressive
yeah.
as
That's true,
crap.
true,
So
true.
LSU definitely probably should be in the rankings as well. But yeah,
True.
I think that's a good, you know what I'm saying? I think that's a pretty good list, especially if you're talking about the college football playoff era. You definitely would say, yeah, those are the blue bloods that,
Yeah,
that we've seen in the last couple of years or last decade to 15 years be relevant. So I definitely agree
yeah,
with that. So I want to go ahead and move over to kind of our more relaxed and chill topics. Let's talk about Threads versus Twitter, bro. Threads have came into the game and just like blew away like Twitter almost immediately. Almost. What do you think
yeah.
about Threads? Do you like it? I love the app, honestly,
I
personally.
love it. I love it. I think it says a lot when a lot of people know me as the guy who uses Twitter. Like in real life,
Same.
like a lot of people know me like as being on Twitter more than any other app. And I think it says a lot that I'm using Threads first thing in the morning before Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Same.
I think I want to say this about Twitter first before I really dive deep into Threads. Twitter served its purpose for a long time, and I feel like Twitter transcended what it was originally designed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it was kind of designed to be kind of like a Facebook competitor at first,
Right.
but it turned into something even bigger and even better, I would say. I'm not a Facebook user at
Yeah.
all, really. And I think Facebook, when you get on Facebook, um, most of the time, the demographic is typically older, I
Yeah.
would say, and a lot of things that spread across Facebook are lies, but not in the way that I mean, lies are on Twitter too, but when I say lies, I mean everything's almost fake, right? Like when I get on Twitter, or excuse me, when I get on Facebook, and when I see news, quote unquote news,
Right.
it's usually just a rumor that doesn't have a source on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like there's no link. There's just somebody saying on a big account on Facebook that says, "Hey, such and such is set to appear in this movie," or "Such and such said this about such and such," or this happened," and people take it on Facebook and they just run with it and they believe it, but there's never a source behind it. But on Twitter, it almost became like the biggest. I might be misspeaking, like speaking out of turn here when I say this, but I think Twitter is the biggest news site on the planet right now. That's
Yeah.
how I
It
always
is.
viewed it.
Yeah.
When I
Mm-hmm.
wake up in the morning, I always call Twitter my morning news, right? My morning
Right.
paper. Like most
Mm-hmm.
people, back in the day, they would go outside
And get
and
the
there would
paper.
be newspaper on the footstep,
Yep.
right? And they would
Mm-hmm.
and they would sit down and read it. For me, I just roll out of bed, open up Twitter. I'm like, okay, then now what did happen in the sports world, movies, gaming, all of the topics that I love. That's how I use Twitter. And so I
Yeah.
feel like it served that purpose for such a long time.
Yeah.
And but the one thing that kind of came to the reason why it failed is because it didn't listen to its people. It didn't
Right.
listen to what people wanted. People asked for years. The main thing that people asked for was a doggone edit button.
Edit button. Yep.
And this new apartheid baby man child, old as I don't know what, racist, rich, sorry sack of I'm not even gonna say it. He comes in, he buys the app, and he gives everybody an edit button, but he locks it behind a paywall. That's the most capitalistic,
Yep.
rich, egomaniac, eat whatever. He's the worst. He's scum. Okay? That's the best way I can describe him. He's scum. He comes in and he locks all of the features that people asked for years behind a paywall.
Yeah,
No
it's
other
crazy.
app does that. You know what I'm saying? No other app does that. And he came in, bought the app, and he ruined it. I mean, he just absolutely tarnished everything that everybody loved about Twitter, and he tried to monetize it. He tried to make it more. His greed and his hubris destroyed that app, and so now a competitor from somebody who's also very egotistical and rich, but but that's another, a story for another time. But now a competitor has come out and basically said, "Hey, we see what you're doing. You fired all of these people for no reason whatsoever because they were running the app and they weren't, respecting your vision, your trash vision for the app. So you fired all these people. So we're gonna hire them and we're gonna create something even better than what you have." And that's what Threads is right now.
Yep.
I, me and you have talked about it all the time, or since it came out. I like Threads, man. It's a really cool app. It is a it is a Twitter direct competitor to Twitter. It's exactly what Twitter should be. And me and you have talked about it. It's more positive than what Twitter is. I mean, I get on Twitter now after I get on Threads, and I'm like, man, it's so much negativity. Like I'm tired of seeing
Yeah.
this. I just want to see what people are saying. You know what I mean? Like I just want to go
Right.
through, like what people are saying. I want to see what my favorite accounts are posting. Like I'm tired of seeing, all the negative and all the narratives that people are trying to drive on Twitter that are based out of nothing.
Right.
So I think Threads has an opportunity to do something so special. If they just keep improving the UI user interface, that they keep improving the user experience. If they add customization options, add an edit button, add spaces or all these other features, direct messages. If they add all of these things and improve on them and add other things that Twitter didn't have, I think we're looking at arguably the greatest social media app ever in a couple of years. I think we'll be saying that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Threads a lot, man. Me and you talked about it a little bit off air yesterday. I like Threads. It has a lot of potential. It just needs to add like a streaming platform on it, maybe like something like a space, like Spaces, do something like that. I'm trying to think of what else they could add. It's just a few more things, like you said, if they work on the technology side of it. I think Threads, you're already kind of seeing it because I was on Twitter earlier and it was like a dead zone. Nobody was
Yeah.
really on there like that. Like everybody was on
Nope.
Threads. So I think if they can kind of get Threads to maybe have a For You page and like just the people you're following page type situation, and then also as well add some type of spaces, because I do like that about Twitter. I do like the spaces thing. They should add
Spaces. Yeah.
that to what you call it, to
Threads.
Threads. But Threads
Mhm.
is so I like it. It's definitely more of a positive vibe over there too. I like that a lot. It's definitely more positive. It's not as like, I feel like we talked about this yesterday off the air. Like I feel like Twitter is just a cesspool of hate, and
Mhm.
let me argue with you. Like, hey,
Mhm.
the sky is blue. No, it's not. It's gray. Like
Right.
it's just people want to argue on Twitter, and I feel like Threads has been the absolute opposite. It's been a lot of positive energy over there, a lot of positive feedback. I like Threads personally. Like you said, I've been waking up the last couple mornings like checking Threads before I check
Yeah.
Twitter. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that never happens. Like, and I was a huge Twitter guy. Everybody knows me for that. Like, I love
Mhm.
Twitter. I think Threads gonna be the one, man. I really do. I think Threads gonna be the one.
It's special. I mean, there's so much opportunity here, and I think one of the best things about it is that everybody's supportive of Threads. Like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
wants to see Threads. Everybody
Thrive.
wants to see Threads thrive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason, there's two reasons for it. Number one, everybody likes something new.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants something
Right.
new. And the other reason is we all hate Elon. We
Yeah.
hate Elon
True.
Musty. Like we're
Yeah.
tired of him. Like we don't want to. He bought Twitter, and hate speech has gone up.
Yeah.
Racism on Twitter, racist terms and words have gone up. Right wing, conservative, you know, really these terrible people that you don't want to be talking to. They've all started using the app more and more, and Elon is actually backing them and he's supporting everything that they're saying. You know what I
Yep.
mean? He's giving them a platform to essentially just be mean to people, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
so we're tired of him. And yes, we want to see Threads survive because Threads has already cracked down on hate speech. They're already getting people, taking people accounts and
Hmm.
suspending them, deleting posts. We don't want to see that anymore. So yes, absolutely, we all want to see Threads thrive and survive. And I do want to give a little small shout out to Spill, that app that we use for like a day.
Bruh, I was just about to say, I feel so bad for Spill. Spill got cooked in one day.
One
That
day,
was my
man.
next thing I had out on my little notes here is bring up Spill because Spills got cooked. Shout out to
Yeah,
Spills for that one day though, but they got cooked after that. It was
they got
curtains.
cooked. It was one
Yeah,
day. That's all it was. And one thing I will say about Spill that it's not. I think specifically, I do like how it was black owned and black started, black created. I
yeah,
do want to give a shout out to that. Um, and one thing about Spill that I think that it kind of the reason why it's not going to compete with Threads is simply because Threads already has millions on millions on millions of
yeah,
users
yeah.
via Instagram and the
Instagram.
Meta platform. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Hmm.
So it was tough. They tried, and I'm not saying they're gonna fail me. Shoot, they might end up being bigger than Threads and
Right.
Twitter one day. They just got to keep improving.
Improving.
Um,
Yeah.
it just sucks that it took that Threads basically popped up at this time because I know Spill's
Yeah.
not kind of just not
Bill
getting
was gaining
started
some
and kind of
traction, but then once that happened,
they were, but yeah, but
it's
once
over.
Threads came out, it kind of you kind of feel bad, hopefully those people in Spill, maybe they'll keep it going, and if not, maybe they try something new. Maybe they try a TikTok competitor next time, or an
Right.
Instagram competitor, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
so I hate that for them, but at the same time, you know, Threads, I think they had 10 million users in 7 hours or something like that,
Yeah, it was crazy.
and it took,
I
if
think
I'm not
they're up to
mistaken, it
like
took
I
Twitter
think he said they're up to like 50 million now.
50. Yeah, it's crazy. It took Twitter 2 years to get 10 million users. So
It
and
took
Threads got
Threads
it in
2
within a
days.
day.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy, bro.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's pretty much curtains for Twitter, y'all. Man, if y'all we still gonna be posting on Twitter a little bit,
Yeah,
but as soon as Threads basically adds all the capabilities that
it's
we would
over.
like to see, it's pretty much over for Twitter, man.
Yeah.
I I just like Threads too much right now. It's like I said, it's
Yeah.
new, it's unique, it's fresh. Um, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, nah, I agree with you 100%, man. Once Thread adds a couple more features, it's probably gonna be GG's Jover,
Mm,
as we like to say.
Jover, yeah.
On it's gonna be Jover on Twitter. Let's go jump into our last thing of the day. We are gonna be doing our US cities draft. So I came up with this stipulation that me and Cam are going to do a United States cities draft. If we were a professional athlete with tons of money, money's not an option. Where would we want to live? Now, this is based off of any city that has a professional sports team. The big four, like I said earlier, MLB, NBA, NFL, and hockey. If those cities in the United States have any of those teams, it is up for option. So I'm gonna so this is how it's gonna work. If Cam takes a city, I can no longer take that city. It's no longer on my board. So Cam, I'm gonna let you do the honors first, bro. At your number one pick, if money was not an option and you wanted to go, what would be your number one choice for a city?
So with the number one overall pick in the professional city draft, I am going to take Los Angeles. I'm
Oh
taking Los
God.
I'm taking Los Angeles, man.
He took my number one. That's all right. That's
Yeah.
all right. That's all right. Tell me why you
I
take
think
tell me why you take LA.
yeah, man. So I think LA, I mean, it's just a city. That's where I mean, it's Hollywood, bro. Like
Right.
every
Right.
star is there. I mean, you got, let's say you as a professional athlete, let's say you just a bench warmer all year. You still going to the best parties. You getting
Yeah.
into the
Right.
the the biggest, you know what I'm saying? You going to movie premieres, you meeting all the stars, all the celebrities. You know what I mean? It's probably expensive out there for somebody
Right.
rich, but I mean it's just this endless amount of things to do in LA. And I think, you're really under the spotlight in every major sport.
Yeah.
Specifically in basketball, I mean, shoot, if you playing for the Lakers, you could be the 16th man on the team. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You can be there. Somebody out there probably knows the team manager name. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? The towel guys. You know what I mean? The Water Girls, they probably know their names. You know what I mean? You under all that spotlight in Los Angeles. So I just think that's probably the city that people want to go to, especially if you young in your career. I think that's the best spot.
Yeah. Okay. So for my number one pick, I'm taking New York City. Because of its marketability, uh, all the big brands are out there. It's Gotham City. All the media outlets are there. You can build your brand there. You can make yourself a big star. Everybody, that you think about it. New York City has had some of the biggest stars in the world in any sport. Pretty much come
Yeah,
through there in some shape or form, and
yeah.
it's benefited them business wise. So for me, my number one choice will be New York City. Who's your number two?
Uh Number two, man. See, this is tough because, like, for me, I would probably with the number two pick. I'm probably gonna take Atlanta. I'm
Okay,
gonna take
that's my
Atlanta.
number two.
Um, and I know Big Boomer, Big Game Boomer, whatever that fool name is, posted that Atlanta was the worst the worst sports city in the United States, but that's just not true.
No, it's not.
Atlanta Atlanta United, um that's a soccer team, right? Atlanta United,
Yep.
that's them, that's their name.
Yep.
They now I don't watch soccer, but they be packed out week in and week out.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean they're you know it's Atlanta is the mecca for our culture, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Really for
Mhm.
sports culture. I feel like a lot of stuff kind of comes out of Atlanta. You know what I
Yep.
mean? A lot of trends come out of Atlanta. And I feel like especially if you're an athlete, I mean you're so close to a lot of things. There's an endless amount of things to do in Atlanta. You not far from the beaches in Florida. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You can get on any flight, out of what's it
Atlanta.
called? Hartsfield Jackson
Yep.
and roll anywhere. I mean, Atlanta just seems like a really cool city. I'm see we in it right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a dope city, man. And you got, like I said, Big Game Boomer lied. You got the support from everybody, man. Even
Right.
Falcons fans. Falcons fans, they still supportive of that
They
of
still
that
support.
trash
Yeah.
franchise. I mean,
Mhm.
it's Hawks fans always been supportive. So Atlanta, it's a really good city. If you want like love and support, I think Atlanta is a good spot, man. And
No, that's a good,
it's a good surrounding area if you want to like raise a family or something like that. It's a
right.
good place.
Yeah, no, you took definitely one of the ones high on my list. Next, you just talked about the beaches in South Beach. I'm going with Miami as my number
Miami.
two. I think Miami, if I had all the money in the world, bro, Miami, you got the weather, the women. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying. Miami would
Yeah.
be my number two choice. It's talented. It has all the things that you need: the culture, the food, the nightlife. That would be my number two pick. Good sports teams. Yeah. So Miami would be my number two. Who's your number three?
So my number three would we going back to the West. I like Las Vegas. I'm going
Oh,
Las
you
Vegas as
took one
number
of
three.
mine. That is a
Yeah.
good one. That is a sneaky
I
one that
like
was on my list. That is a
yeah,
good one because I had Vegas number three on my list. I'm not gonna hold you.
yeah.
You took one of mine.
Vegas is a really cool city, man. It's I feel like it's underrated in terms of what it could do for sports. I know a lot of sports franchises are trying to go to Vegas. LeBron even talked about potentially starting a basketball team in Vegas.
Yep.
The Golden Knights, if I'm not mistaken, just won a hockey championship from
Yep.
Vegas.
You did. Mhm.
Um, or the Stanley Cup, excuse me. And so, and then the Raiders just moved to Vegas not too long ago. So I think it's a good, it's a really good town, um, or a good city for you to kind of go in, and especially for it to be, I hate to say growing because it's already a huge city, but
Right. Yeah.
growing in the sports market and more people are trying to move there and trying to start some things there. I think Vegas is a really good spot, man. And again, I'm of the nature endless things to do. You're not
Yeah.
gonna be bored in Vegas. You are
Right.
hopping to skip away from LA. You are hopping to skip away from really anywhere in California. You can
Yeah. I was
you
about to
can
say
make
they
that
were like
trip.
I think they're like 3.5 hours driving to LA, so they right there.
Yeah. So what's your third pick, man? Who you
My
got?
third pick overall is going to be Houston, Texas. I think
Yeah.
Houston has the food scene. They have the women once again. If I was single and had a lot of money, Houston
Yeah.
has the women, so that's going to be a big role. There's a ton to do in Houston. You can drive up to Dallas if you wanted to. You're halfway from the East Coast. You're halfway from the West Coast. So it's a 2-hour flight to Atlanta if you want to get back to the East Coast, and there's like a 2.5-hour flight if you want to go to LA. I got
Mm-hmm.
Houston in my number 3 pick, and it's one of the bigger
Word.
cities in the country. So
Yep.
I have
For
Houston as my
sure.
number 3. Who you have as your number 4?
So number 4, man, I got we coming back down to the south. I like New Orleans, man. I got New Orleans.
Ooh, Cam.
I
Okay.
got New Orleans.
All right.
Um, you know,
I like
I
that one. They were
even
not on my list though, but I do like that one though. That's a good
yeah,
one.
even even though I despise their football team, I feel like New Orleans got something building, especially with the Pelicans basketball team, the Saints. Yeah, they have fans. I mean, you're gonna have crazy support in New Orleans. Now, you want to talk about one of the most supportive cities? New Orleans is a
Yeah.
supportive city, and they gonna rock with you, even if you a bad dude. You know, word to some of the Saints players, even if you ain't, even if you ain't all that, they gonna gas you up and act like you the best thing on the earth. So, I think New Orleans, and again, keeping with my same theme, endless amount of things to do.
Yeah.
Mardi Gras, you'll hop and skip away from Texas. You'll hop and skip away from Florida. You can make it to Atlanta in 5 hours. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think Tampa is 5 hours away. Dallas
Yeah.
is probably 5 hours away from there or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be
Houston's not
wrong,
far
but
either
you
from New Orleans. It's like 3 hours,
right,
4 hours. Yeah, it's
right.
not far.
So you got a lot. I mean, there's just so much opportunity in New Orleans. Great culture. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of things to get into. If you like bourbon, there you go right there, Bourbon Street. And a lot of just a lot of cool things going on in New Orleans. So I would say New Orleans at 4 for me, man.
Okay. So my number 4 overall pick is going to be the Bay Area. Give me San Francisco. I
Mm,
think it's a great sports city that breeds winners. Look at the 49ers. Look at the
the
uh
Warriors.
the Warriors. I mean, it's expensive as crap, but once again, money is not an option. There are heck of opportunities out there. If you want to stop after your, sports career and own an IT business out there in tech, you can do that. So I
Yeah.
would put San Francisco as my number 4 pick. You're only like 6 hours from LA. You're only like 8 hours from San Diego. You're only like 6 hours from Seattle. I mean, this is to me a perfect place on the West Coast. The weather is like 65 degrees year round. Yeah, I think I would put San Francisco at my number 4.
Word, word,
So
word.
who would you put at
You
your final pick? Number 5, Cam. Where you going with it?
man, I'm torn between a few. I'm gonna go with at 5. Let me go with um let me go with Dallas, Texas.
Oh, I knew you was gonna do that to me. That's who
Yeah,
I
let
had
me
at my
go.
5. I knew you were gonna do
Yeah,
that to me. Go ahead and explain
let
why.
me, let me go with Dallas. And so I think so. I went to Dallas not too long ago, and again, beautiful city, a lot of stuff to do. Um, you know, taxes is got to be one of the reasons, man, to consider Florida or Texas because you ain't got
Yeah,
the tax, you know what I'm saying, that you got to worry about. So I think Dallas is just a nice city. Um, it's always growing. Things are always happening in Dallas. If you're a Cowboys player, again, crazy support, right? I mean, you're gonna
yeah,
have the most crazy fans on the planet with the Cowboys. Mavericks, again, you a player for the Mavericks. You got a lot going on for you. I mean, you playing next to Luka Doncic. You know what I'm saying? I think you just got a really good um I think you just got a really good two franchises there. I think the Stars play there, if I'm not mistaken, in
yeah.
hockey.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, I think they got a good. I think Dallas is a good city, man. Dallas is a
Yeah,
good city.
that's a
Again,
good
you're
one. They
not
were
far
on
from
my
Houston.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
I
far from
had him at
Houston.
5.
So, and who with your final pick? Who you got?
This one, I don't even know why this one was on the board this long because this is a sleeper city, and I don't know why. I just realized it. We did not put DC on this list, and I'm going
Mm,
DC at number 5. DC
mm,
is a tremendous city. The food
mm.
scene is amazing. The women are amazing. The money and the government, like all being right there at your hands. Um,
Yeah,
I would hate being stopped by those like little processions with the president. But DC is a really cool city, like it's a really dope city with a really good culture. It's a lot of us up there, like the DMV area. They have a lot of good suburbs similar to Atlanta. DC at my 5, and I actually did not even have them on my list at first, and then I just realized, like, oh my God, DC is still sitting here. Give me DC at my 5. So your 5 was your top 5 cities that you drafted was LA at 1, Atlanta at 2, Vegas at 3, and New Orleans at 4, and then Dallas at 5. That's a really impressive list. I'm not gonna hold you. And then for me, I had at 1 New York City, at 2 Miami, at 3 Houston, at 4 San Francisco, and at 5 DC. Pretty good list on both ends. I'm gonna put this on TikTok and YouTube and see what they think and who they think wins. But both of us put up some. I like both of our lists. I'm not gonna hold you. It's a really good list for both of us.
I like for you, man. I ain't gonna hold you. That San Francisco, that was a crazy one. That you pulled that one out because I was trying to think. I was like
San Francisco was still sitting here.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I was like, I know it's another city in California that I wanted to save. I just couldn't think of it. And it was dang.
When you took New Orleans at 4, I was jumping with joy. I was like, oh my God, yes. He took New Orleans at 4, which I didn't have New Orleans on my list. It's a good pull though, because I didn't even have them on my list. But you know what I'm saying? When you like logically explained it, it makes a lot of sense why they were on the list. So yeah, I like that though. But that's gonna be our top 5 for each. I like that. We're gonna post it on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube, and we're gonna see some answers and see who won this draft. But that was a good one. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. We're gonna do this again on like another
for sure.
Another episode, like another draft.
Like
I like this little concept. But look, man, this is gonna end out our podcast for today. Man, another really great episode. Appreciate you guys' love and support. Go ahead and follow us on all our platforms. Y'all already know the deal. The link is in our bio, man. Cam, great work again today, man. We'll be back next week. Cam, did you want to say anything before ending out?
Yeah, man. I just want to say once again, thank y'all for coming, supporting. Y'all was going crazy in the chat again today.
Yep.
Keep tweeting out the link. Keep clicking on everything, engaging with us on all platforms. We are there. So we appreciate all the love and support. It hasn't gone unnoticed. You know what I'm saying? We'll probably start having guests sometime soon.
Sure.
And and we just excited to keep this thing going, man. I speak from myself here. I'm really excited for football season because I know it's gonna be crazy this year. And so I'm just really excited, man. Ready to keep this thing rolling. And once again, thank y'all for the support.
Yeah, definitely, man. And like I said, follow us everywhere. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so you can follow us there. We're on Spotify as well. We're on Google. We're on everything. So if you want to just go back and listen to us, you can do that. If you want to just go and watch us on YouTube, I'm actually going to upload the video as soon as we get off here. So you'll be able to do that as well. So whatever your heart desires, we have there for you. You'll be able to go ahead and follow us there. And like I said, follow us on TikTok at Cam and T as well podcast. We're all there as well. But once again, Cam, great work, bro. Appreciate you. And you guys, we will see y'all next week, man. We appreciate y'all's love and support.